Suns rose and set in a dance that painted the clouds with gold, violet, and deep blue. The city of Zetheris, the capital of this alien civilization, towered with spires that reached toward the sky, their surfaces glowing faintly with energy drawn from the planet itself. The streets were quiet now, mostly empty except for the few citizens walking to their assigned duties. The city was calm, but a storm of emotions brewed within one household, the home of matriarch Verena and her daughter Leora. Leora, unlike her mother, was gentle and curious. Her large eyes, slightly brighter than the average Zitheran, reflected the golden light of the suns. She moved quietly through the halls of the family palace carrying a stack of holographic tablets. Each one contained studies of distant worlds, especially one small blue planet called Earth, home to humans. Leora had discovered the humans by accident when she accessed old records in Zithera's archives. She was fascinated by them. They survive against all odds, she whispered to herself. They build, they fight, they create, even though their bodies are weak compared to ours. Her mother's voice interrupted her thoughts, echoing through the palace like a warning bell. Leora, Verena's voice was sharp, commanding attention without effort. The matriarch entered the study, her presence alone enough to make the walls feel smaller. She was imposing even among Zitherans, with energy flowing visibly across her skin and eyes that glimmered with authority. "Yes, mother?" Leora said softly, hiding the tablets behind her back. Verena approached, eyes narrowing as she scanned the contents of Leora's hands. "Humans, you are wasting your time with primitive creatures. They are nothing compared to Zitherans. Their lives are short. Their technology is crude. And their minds, they barely understand their own planet." Leora bit her lip. She had expected this reaction. But mother humans are clever. They survive despite so many dangers. They find solutions no one expects. I think we could learn from them. Verena's lips curled in disgust. Learn from humans? Ha! You would disgrace this family if you continue such foolish thinking. You were born a Zitheran, Leora. You have power, intelligence, and potential far beyond these simple creatures. But Leora's curiosity was stronger than her fear. She stepped forward, her voice firmer now. I do not wish to be like other Zitherans, mother. I want to understand them. To see what makes them so human. Verena's eyes flashed. You will understand nothing. And if you do not obey, I will remove your privileges. You will have no access to the archives, no access to the city council, and no voice in this family ever again. Leora clenched her fists. She had expected punishment, but her fascination could not be silenced. She left the study, carrying her curiosity with her like a shield. Outside, the air was warm, and the sounds of the city were distant. She paused, looking at the sky and imagining Earth. In her mind, she saw green forests, blue oceans, and humans standing together against dangers far greater than they should survive. Meanwhile, Verena called a family council. The room filled quickly with elder Zitherans, their faces glowing faintly with the energy that marked their status. My daughter is wasting her potential on human fantasies, Verena said, her voice echoing off the walls. She dreams of creatures unworthy of our respect. I must show her the reality of her foolishness, the elders murmured among themselves. Most agreed with Verena's words, seeing humans as primitive and unworthy. But Leora's fascination could not be stopped. She secretly continued her studies, memorizing human stories, learning their history, and even discovering their achievements that no Zitheran record had fully captured. Days passed and Leora's obsession grew. She started to replicate human inventions in miniature, using Zitheran energy cores to power them. They were simple machines by Zitheran standards, yet her devices worked beautifully. She showed one to a friend, a young Zitheran named Cairo, who gasped in amazement. How did you do this? Cairo asked. This is remarkable. It's nothing, Leora said with a shy smile. Humans do far more with so little. The praise brought warmth to Leora's heart, but she knew her mother would disapprove. And she was right. Verena discovered one of Leora's human-inspired devices a few hours later. She stormed into the workshop, her energy flaring dangerously. What is this abomination? She demanded, looking at the tiny contraption spinning and glowing. Do you think I will allow this? Do you think I am blind? It's just a study, mother, Leora said, her voice steady despite the fear rising inside her. I want to learn from humans, not replace Zitheran knowledge. Verena's eyes narrowed. Learning from humans is disgraceful. You mock your own race and our achievements by admiring their weak ways." She reached out, but instead of touching Leora, the matriarch's energy flared around her, a warning of the power she could wield if needed. Leora stepped back, careful but determined. "I do not mock Zitherans. I admire humans. And I think maybe there is value in learning from others, even if they are different from us." For a long moment, silence filled the workshop. Then Verena laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "You are a fool, Leora. A fool who dreams of weak creatures while the rest of us build the future of Zithera. Mark my words, your fascination with humans will bring you nothing but disappointment." Despite the warning, Leora's determination only strengthened. That night, she went to her private quarters and opened the holographic tablets she had hidden. She studied human courage, their ingenuity, and their willingness to help each other in ways Zitherans often overlooked. She saw their creativity, their humor, and their ability to survive against odds that would crush even the strongest Zitheran. She whispered to herself, "I will see what humans can do. I will understand them, and maybe one day I will show Mother what she cannot see." But the matriarch was not done. Verena summoned the council again, this time to publicly humiliate Leora. The assembly hall was vast, with walls that shimmered with energy and seats that rose in a circle to watch every detail. Leora entered calm but tense. She knew her mother would make this a spectacle. "Citizens of Zitheris," Verena announced, her voice carrying effortlessly through the hall, "my daughter has betrayed the values of our people. She admires humans, creatures who would be crushed by the simplest of Zitheran challenges. She is foolish." Gasps echoed in the hall. Leora stood tall, her heart pounding, but she did not falter. "I do not see humans as weak," she said. "They are brave. They are clever. They survive because they care, because they try, and because they think in ways we do not always understand." The hall erupted into whispers. Some elders shook their heads, others were curious. Verena's face turned red with anger. "Enough," she shouted. "You will regret this fascination. You will see that humans are unworthy of your attention and you will obey me, or you will be cast out." Leora met her mother's gaze without fear. "I will not stop learning, and I will not regret what I discover." Verena turned and left, fuming. Leora felt the weight of her mother's wrath, but she also felt a spark of hope. The first step had been taken. She would continue to study humans no matter the ridicule or danger, and in that quiet resolve she felt something new, a promise of adventure, a promise that one day she would prove that humans, her unlikely fascination, had value beyond anyone's imagination. As the suns of Zithera set together, casting the city in a soft, shimmering glow, Leora looked toward the distant stars. Somewhere out there, humans lived and thrived, unaware that a young alien woman was watching, learning and believing in them, and perhaps, she thought with a small smile, they would soon teach even her mother a lesson she would never forget. Days passed since the public confrontation between Leora and her mother. Leora continued her secret studies of humans, learning everything she could about their history, their courage, and their creativity. Each new discovery deepened her fascination, and though she feared her mother's wrath, she felt an excitement she had never known before. The quiet routine of Zitheris was suddenly broken by an announcement that echoed throughout the city. A delegation of humans was arriving on Zithera. They were part of an interstellar mission to foster understanding and peace between human civilizations and alien species. The arrival of humans was rare, and their presence caused both curiosity and apprehension among the Zitherans. Leora's heart raced when she heard the news. She would finally meet the creatures she had admired for so long, but her excitement was mixed with fear, especially fear of her mother's reaction. The humans arrived in a sleek blue spacecraft that shimmered under Zithera's 3 suns. It landed gracefully in the central plaza, drawing crowds of Zitherans who watched the event with a mix of awe and skepticism. The doors opened and a single figure emerged, a human man dressed in a simple uniform. He stood tall, with a calm presence that immediately drew attention. His eyes were steady, his movements confident, and his expression kind. Leora could not tear her eyes away. She felt a strange sense of recognition, as if the humans she had studied were now alive before her. Her mother, on the other hand, looked unimpressed. "This human," Verena said to the council gathered around her, "is nothing but a fragile creature. He cannot survive the challenges of our world. Leora, remember what I told you, humans are weak and they will fail. But Leora felt something different. There was a strength in him. Not the strength of raw power like Zitherans possessed, but the strength of mind, spirit, and courage. She could sense it. Soon after their arrival, humans were invited to tour the city. Leora was assigned as a guide. As she walked with the human ambassador, she observed him carefully. He asked questions about Zitharan culture, technology, and history, not with condescension, but with genuine curiosity and thoughtfulness. Leora found herself explaining things she had never considered explaining before, and he listened intently, absorbing every detail. "Your world is incredible," the human said with a smile. "You have achieved so much, and yet, I can see the challenges you face. I think together we can learn from each other." Leora felt a thrill of excitement. "Yes," she replied softly. "Humans are different, but I believe we can understand one another. And I think you might be able to teach us something too." The ambassador smiled again. "I hope so. Humans survive by solving problems in ways others might not expect. Perhaps we can help Zithara in some way." Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden alarm. The city's sensors had detected a predator approaching from the outskirts. This creature, native to Zithara's wildlands, was dangerous even for seasoned Zitharans. It moved swiftly with claws and teeth designed to crush anything in its path. The council panicked, unsure of how to respond. Most Zitharans relied on advanced technology to defend their cities, but the predator was cunning, avoiding automated defenses with ease. Without hesitation, the human ambassador stepped forward. "We need a plan that combines human ingenuity with your technology," he said. "If we work together, we can stop it." Leora's heart raced. This was the moment she had hoped for, the chance to see humans in action. She quickly joined the ambassador, helping him assess the situation. Using her knowledge of Zitharan tech and his understanding of strategy and resourcefulness, they devised a plan. The humans suggested creating a decoy to lure the predator into a trap, while Zitharans used energy nets to contain it. Many elders doubted it would work. They thought humans were too fragile and inexperienced to face such danger. But Leora had faith in the ambassador. The plan was risky. If it failed, the predator could destroy part of the city. Yet the ambassador's confidence inspired Leora. She helped coordinate the Zitharan forces, and together they set the plan into motion. The predator appeared, moving with terrifying speed. Zitharan soldiers activated their defenses, but the predator avoided them, heading straight for the city center. Then the human ambassador put the decoy in place, a series of devices designed to distract the predator. He moved quickly, guiding the predator toward the trap. Leora followed, assisting in fine-tuning the energy nets. When the predator lunged at the decoy, the trap activated perfectly. The energy nets closed around the creature, immobilizing it without harm. The city erupted in cheers. Humans and Zitharans alike celebrated their success. Verena watched silently, her pride wounded. Her daughter had been right. The human ambassador's clever thinking had saved the city. And worse, Leora had been at his side, proving that her fascination with humans was not foolish. After the crisis, the council held a ceremony to honor those involved. Leora and the human ambassador stood together, receiving praise from both humans and Zitharans. Whispers filled the hall. Perhaps humans were not as weak as everyone believed. Verena, however, remained stern. She called Leora aside. "Do you see what I mean?" she asked. "Humans may succeed by chance, but they cannot survive the real challenges of life here. You are still my daughter, and I command you to forget this foolishness." Leora shook her head. "Mother, I see that humans have courage and intelligence. They think differently, yes, but that is their strength. I will not forget what I have seen today, and I admire him." Verena's eyes widened. "Admire him?" she spat. "You dare to admire a human?" "Yes," Leora said calmly. "He is brave, clever, and kind, and he sees the world in ways we could learn from. I think humans are remarkable, Mother. Perhaps even worthy of respect." For a long moment, Verena stared at her daughter in disbelief. She had never seen Leora speak with such conviction. The matriarch's pride wrestled with her fear that her daughter's fascination might grow into something uncontrollable. The next days brought new opportunities. The human ambassador stayed on Zithara for diplomatic talks, and Leora was assigned as his personal liaison. Together they explored the city, studied its technology, and even brainstormed new ideas to improve life on Zithera. Leora discovered that humans had qualities Zitherans rarely valued: creativity, adaptability, and empathy. They could see problems from angles that Zitherans often overlooked. And the more she worked with the human ambassador, the more she realized how much she admired his courage and wisdom. Meanwhile, Verena watched from afar, her skepticism gradually replaced by unease. She had mocked her daughter, believing that admiration for humans was foolish. Yet every day she saw the ambassador's brilliance and Leora's growing confidence. She began to suspect that perhaps she had underestimated both her daughter and the humans she despised. One evening, as the sun set together over Zitherus, Leora and the ambassador sat on a balcony overlooking the city. The sky was painted in brilliant golds and purples, and the city below glowed with energy. "You've changed my view of Zithera," the ambassador said, smiling. "Your people are amazing, and I'm honored to learn from you. But I'm even more impressed by your curiosity and courage." Leora smiled back, her heart warm. "And I am honored to learn from you. Humans, they are not what many believe. They are strong in ways we do not always recognize." The ambassador nodded. Perhaps one day humans and Zitherans can build a future together, learning from each other, solving problems neither could manage alone. Leora looked at him, hope shining in her eyes. "I believe we can, and I want to be part of that future." Little did they know, this partnership would soon challenge not only Leora's place in her family, but also the beliefs of an entire planet. The seeds of change had been planted, and the consequences would ripple far beyond their understanding. And somewhere, matriarch Verena watched, her mind struggling against the truth she refused to admit. Humans were more than weak creatures. They were remarkable, and her daughter had chosen to see it. For the first time, Leora felt the thrill of adventure not just in her studies, but in life itself. She had glimpsed the extraordinary potential of humans, and she could hardly wait to see what the future held. The days on Zithera continued with a strange mixture of tension and excitement. Leora had grown closer to the human ambassador, whose name was Ethan, and she learned more with each passing day about his courage, creativity, and wisdom. But the closer she became to him, the more her mother's disapproval grew. Matriarch Verena could no longer tolerate Leora's fascination. She had mocked her daughter publicly before, but now it was clear to everyone that Leora admired a human more than she admired Zitheran ways. Verena convened another council meeting intending to force her daughter back into obedience. "You have forgotten your place," Verena announced to the council, her eyes flashing with anger. "You continue to honor a human above your own people. This cannot continue. Leora, you will marry a Zitheran of status and power, not this outsider." Leora stood her ground, though her heart pounded. She had expected this confrontation, and she had prepared herself. "Mother, I will not marry someone I do not respect," she said firmly. "Ethan has shown wisdom, courage, and kindness beyond anything a Zitheran could provide. I choose him not for politics, but because I believe in him." The council erupted in murmurs. Most of the elders shook their heads in disbelief. They could not imagine a Zitheran willingly marrying a human. To them it was unthinkable. Verena's voice thundered over the hall. "Enough! You will obey me or face exile. You will never bring shame upon this family again." But Leora did not waver. "I will not obey you in this," she said quietly but firmly. "I will marry Ethan. I will learn from him. I will see what we can accomplish together." For the first time, Verena's anger was mixed with doubt. She had underestimated her daughter's determination and Ethan's influence, and in that moment she realized something unsettling. Her daughter might succeed where she had predicted failure. The decision came from the council, reluctantly approved to maintain diplomatic relations with the human mission. Leora and Ethan were to be married. The announcement shocked the city. Many Zitherans whispered that this union would fail, that humans were too weak and different. But Leora and Ethan remained calm, confident in their connection. Preparation for the ceremony took days. Leora moved through the palace, trying not to let her nerves show. She had never imagined her life taking this turn. She was marrying someone from another world, someone her society believed inferior, yet she felt excitement, hope, and determination. On the day of the ceremony, the sky over Zitherus shone in brilliant colors. Citizens from across the city gathered, curious to witness history. The palace halls glowed with energy, decorations shimmering as they reflected light from the three suns. Leora walked down the aisle, her heart steady. She saw Ethan waiting, calm and smiling. The human's simple elegance contrasted with the elaborate Zitharan designs, yet the confidence in his stance radiated strength. Verena stood at the front, her face a mask of control, though her eyes betrayed her disbelief. She had mocked her daughter so publicly, certain that humans could never live up to Zitharan standards. Now she had to witness the union of Leora and Ethan, a symbol of everything she had considered impossible. The ceremony began. Words of unity and cooperation were spoken in both Zitharan and human languages. Leora and Ethan exchanged vows, promising to learn from each other, respect one another, and work together for a future that bridged two worlds. The crowd listened, some in shock, some in quiet admiration. When the ceremony concluded, Leora and Ethan stood together, ready to face life as partners. As the citizens of Zitharis celebrated the union, Verena turned away, struggling with the reality of what had happened. She had been so certain that humans were inferior, yet here was her daughter, happily united with one, and she could not deny the intelligence, courage, and kindness he displayed. The days after the marriage brought new challenges and discoveries. Leora and Ethan worked together, combining human ingenuity with Zitharan technology. They explored the city's defenses, studied energy systems, and even proposed solutions to problems that had puzzled Zitharan engineers for years. Ethan's thinking was different. He looked at problems not only with logic but also with creativity, imagination, and empathy. Where Zitharan saw a single solution, he saw multiple possibilities. Where they relied solely on energy and force, he considered ideas that were subtle, indirect, and unexpectedly effective. One day, while studying a series of power grids that supplied energy to the city, Ethan noticed a flaw that Zitharan engineers had overlooked. It was a small error, easily missed by their precise calculations, but it could have caused a serious failure during high energy demand. "Look here," Ethan said, pointing to a junction of energy lines. "If this fails, it could overload the grid, but if we reroute part of the energy and use a stabilization algorithm, it will prevent the risk entirely." Leora's eyes widened. "That is brilliant. The engineers never considered that approach." Together, they implemented the solution. The city's energy flowed smoothly, and the engineers were astonished at the effectiveness of Ethan's idea. Even Verena could not hide her surprise, though she refused to admit it openly. As they continued their work, Leora began to see that humans had unique strengths Zitharans rarely valued. Humans adapted quickly, thought creatively, and acted with courage even when the odds were against them. Ethan's presence inspired Leora to think differently as well, to combine her knowledge with his insights and find solutions neither could achieve alone. Despite their growing success, Verena remained distant. She watched her daughter's happiness and the respect she was gaining, yet pride and fear warred within her. She had believed she was teaching Leora the proper way to live as a Zitharan. Instead, Leora had forged a new path, one that challenged the beliefs of their society. Then came a day that would change everything. A rare Zitharan storm, larger and more dangerous than any recorded, approached the city. The winds could tear buildings apart, and the energy surges could disrupt the delicate balance of technology. Zitharans scrambled to prepare defenses, but even their advanced systems were not fully equipped for the storm's magnitude. Leora and Ethan immediately began coordinating efforts. They combined human creativity with Zitharan technology, devising a system of energy shields, rerouted power, and emergency protocols. While Zitharan engineers followed traditional methods, Leora and Ethan proposed innovative ideas that no one had tried before. The storm struck with a roar, and the city trembled. Buildings shook, power lines sparked, and citizens feared the worst. But Leora and Ethan's plan worked. The shields absorbed the brunt of the storm, energy flows were stabilized, and the city survived with minimal damage. The success of their teamwork amazed everyone. Citizens cheered, engineers praised their methods, and whispers of human ingenuity spread through the city. Even Verena could not ignore it. She realized painfully that her daughter's admiration for humans was not misplaced. Humans had strength Zitharans could not replicate: imagination, courage, and the ability to think beyond rigid rules. After the storm, Leora walked with Ethan through the city. Citizens greeted them with respect and gratitude. Leora felt a sense of pride and accomplishment, knowing that her partnership with Ethan had not only strengthened their city, but also proven that humans were capable of greatness. Verena observed from the palace balcony, her heart heavy with regret. She had mocked her daughter and humans, confident in her own superiority. Yet Leora's courage, intelligence, and determination, combined with Ethan's human ingenuity, had saved the city and inspired its people. That evening, as the sun set over Zitherus, Leora and Ethan sat together, tired but exhilarated. "You were amazing today," Leora said softly. "Without you, the city might have been destroyed." Ethan smiled, taking her hand. "No, we did it together. Humans and Zitherans side by side. That's what makes us strong." Leora nodded. "I never imagined marriage could be more than a ceremony. I see now that it is about partnership, trust, and learning from each other. I am grateful we found this path together." Ethan looked at her with admiration. "And I am honored to walk it with you. Together we can achieve more than either of us could alone." As night fell over the city, Leora looked toward her mother's palace. She knew Verena's disapproval had not disappeared, but she also knew the matriarch could no longer ignore the truth. Humans were remarkable, and her daughter's choice had already changed Zithera forever. For Leora, the marriage was more than a union of two worlds. It was the beginning of a journey that would challenge assumptions, inspire change, and reveal the hidden strengths of humanity. And though challenges lay ahead, she faced the future with courage, hope, and the unwavering belief that humans and Zytherans together could achieve the extraordinary. Life on Zethera began to change in ways no one could have predicted. Since the marriage of Leora and Ethan, citizens had witnessed the unique combination of human creativity and Zytheran technology. Together, the couple solved problems that had puzzled the city for decades. Their successes inspired others to reconsider long-held assumptions about humans. Leora spent her mornings teaching Ethan about Zytheran science and culture. She explained the intricacies of energy manipulation, the delicate balance of the city's infrastructure, and the history of Zytheran civilization. In return, Ethan introduced new ways of thinking, based on his human experiences, creative problem-solving, teamwork, and innovation in the face of limited resources. At first, Zytheran engineers were skeptical. They were used to precision, calculations, and rigid methods, and Ethan's human approach seemed messy and unpredictable. Yet time and again his strategies worked. When he suggested using multiple small energy pulses to stabilize the city's power grid instead of relying on a single massive surge, the system became more efficient and safer. Zytheran engineers who had doubted him could not hide their astonishment. Verena, observing from her palace, felt a mix of anger and disbelief. She had mocked humans, convinced they were inferior. Now she saw her daughter and Ethan achieving successes that no single Zytheran could manage alone. She could not deny the truth, though her pride kept her silent. One day the city faced a new challenge. A neighboring mountain range, known for its unstable energy fields, began emitting dangerous surges that threatened to disrupt Zytheris's main energy grid. The elders debated endlessly, proposing solutions that involved extreme force, but each plan carried enormous risk. Leora and Ethan stepped forward with a different approach. "We need to study the problem from multiple angles," Ethan explained. "We cannot simply overpower it. We need to understand it, then work with it." Together they examined the energy fields. Ethan suggested mapping the surges and predicting their patterns using a method Zytherans had never considered: trial, observation, and adaptation. Leora combined her understanding of Zytheran energy systems with Ethan's innovative techniques. They developed a series of small stabilizing nodes that could adapt in real time to the energy surges, preventing damage to the city's grid. When the system was activated, the energy field stabilized perfectly. The elders were stunned. This method was not only effective, it was elegant. It required cooperation, creativity, and foresight, qualities humans excelled at. Zytherans began to realize that Ethan's way of thinking complemented their advanced technology in ways they had never imagined. News of their success spread quickly. Citizens whispered about the human advantage, a term some used with respect and others with disbelief. Even more surprising, Leora's influence grew. She had always been curious, but now she was recognized as a bridge between worlds. someone capable of combining human ingenuity with Zitharan mastery. Verina's pride was challenged daily. She watched as her daughter and Ethan trained young engineers, teaching them to combine logic with creativity, precision with imagination. The students thrived, developing new devices, new energy systems, and even more efficient city defenses. Zithara's future was changing before her eyes. One evening as the sun set, a new crisis arose. A powerful storm, stronger than any previously recorded, formed over the northern hemisphere. It threatened to flood the lower city and disrupt energy lines across Zithara. Emergency alerts were sent, and citizens prepared for the worst. While most Zitharan officials debated whether to evacuate or reinforce defenses, Leora and Ethan worked quickly. They devised a plan that combined human adaptability and Zitharan technology. Small drones were deployed to monitor the storm's movements, while Ethan suggested creating temporary energy barriers to redirect the most dangerous surges. Leora coordinated the city's response, using her knowledge of Zitharan energy systems to maximize efficiency. When the storm hit, chaos threatened to overwhelm the city. Winds tore through buildings and surges of energy crackled across the skies. But Leora and Ethan's plan worked. Drones relayed real-time data, barriers redirected energy flows, and the city's defenses adapted to the changing conditions. By the time the storm subsided, Zitharis had survived with minimal damage. The citizens celebrated, praising Leora and Ethan for their courage and ingenuity. Even the elders who had once doubted humans admitted their surprise. Verina, however, stood silently on her palace balcony, conflicted. Pride, relief, and disbelief fought within her. She had underestimated humans and, unknowingly, her daughter as well. Leora had chosen a path that was unconventional, even rebellious, yet it had saved the city. She could not deny it. Humans had strengths Zitharans often overlooked: creativity, adaptability, and courage under pressure. As life returned to normal, Leora and Ethan continued their work. They traveled across Zithara, implementing new systems to improve energy distribution, water management, and transportation. Everywhere they went, they combined the best of human and Zitharan knowledge. Small communities benefited first, then larger cities, and eventually, the capital itself became a model of cooperation between species. The human ambassador's perspective inspired Zitharans to see problems differently. Where they once relied on brute force and strict control, they now considered alternative approaches. Where they had acted in isolation, they now embraced teamwork. Leora's leadership encouraged openness and learning. Verina could no longer ignore the changes. She watched as her daughter and Ethan led expeditions to improve agriculture, using adaptive human techniques, designed medical systems that combined human medicine with Zitharan healing energy, and even worked to prevent natural disasters with creative early warning systems. The matriarch felt a quiet unease. She had mocked her daughter, dismissed humans, and now had to accept that her prejudices were wrong. One evening, after a long day of work, Leora and Ethan returned to their home in the palace. They were tired but satisfied. Citizens had begun calling their methods the human way, a compliment that signified respect. "We have changed more than I imagined," Leora said, sitting beside Ethan. "People are starting to see humans differently, and they are starting to see the value in cooperation and combining our strengths." Ethan smiled. "Yes, humans are different, but that difference is their power. You see it now, Leora, just as you did the first day we met." Leora nodded. "And it is not only humans. It is about seeing value in others even when they are different. We can accomplish so much together, more than we ever could alone." The next day, Verina called for a private audience with Leora. The matriarch's expression was unreadable. Leora approached, careful not to show the excitement she felt. "Daughter," Verina began, her voice measured, "I watched your work with the human. Your husband, I cannot deny his contributions. The city thrives because of your partnership. I underestimated humans, and I underestimated you." Leora felt a mixture of relief and curiosity. Her mother's admission was rare, even miraculous. "Thank you, Mother," she said softly. "I have only tried to combine what humans can do with what we know. The results belong to all of us." Verina hesitated, then continued. "I still struggle with my pride, but I see now. Humans are not what I believed. They have courage, intelligence, and resourcefulness that we can learn from. And you? You have grown into a leader I cannot fully control, but I admire your determination." For Leora, hearing these words was a small victory. Her mother's change of heart, even partially, validated everything she had fought for. She realized that true strength was not about rigid superiority, but about courage, curiosity, and the willingness to learn from others. The weeks that followed saw Zythera embracing new methods of cooperation. Engineers, scientists, and citizens alike began experimenting with human-inspired approaches. They adopted adaptive strategies, creative solutions, and teamwork-based projects. Leora and Ethan's work became the blueprint for a new era, one where Zytherans and humans could share knowledge, inspire each other, and tackle challenges that neither species could face alone. Verena, though still proud and sometimes skeptical, could not help but admire the results. Her daughter had proven that humans were more than worthy, and that sometimes those considered weak held the key to progress. She began to understand that mocking Leora's fascination had been a mistake she would not repeat. As the suns of Zythera set, painting the city in golden light, Leora and Ethan stood together on a balcony overlooking the thriving metropolis. They watched as citizens implemented their ideas, shared their knowledge, and adapted to new methods. Ethan squeezed Leora's hand. "Do you see it?" he asked. "The changes we have inspired? This is just the beginning. Imagine what else we can do together." Leora smiled, her heart full of hope. "Yes, humans and Zytherans together can achieve more than anyone thought possible. And we will continue to learn from each other. Always." Far below, Verena observed silently. She could not deny the truth. Her daughter had chosen wisely. Humans had proven their worth, and the future of Zythera had been forever changed. The matriarch felt a mixture of regret and awe, knowing that Leora and Ethan's partnership had not only saved the city, but had opened the door to a new era, one defined by understanding, courage, and the extraordinary strengths of humanity. Zythera had changed. The city of Zytheris, once a place of rigid rules and unquestioned traditions, now thrived with a new energy. The combined efforts of Leora and Ethan had transformed not just the infrastructure, but the hearts and minds of its people. Humans were no longer dismissed as fragile or inferior. Their ingenuity, creativity, and courage were celebrated alongside the strength and skill of the Zytherans. Leora walked through the bustling city streets, hand in hand with Ethan. Citizens greeted them with smiles, nods, and words of gratitude. Young engineers demonstrated new energy stabilizers inspired by their lessons. Farmers showcased innovative irrigation systems that combined human and Zytheran techniques, and children played in parks designed using concepts Leora and Ethan had proposed. Everywhere she looked, Leora saw proof of what collaboration could achieve. "This is incredible," Ethan said, watching the energy grids pulse smoothly above the city. "I knew humans could help, but I didn't imagine the impact would be this fast." Leora smiled. "It's because the people of Zythera were ready to learn. And it's because you never stopped believing in them or me." Their work was far from over. The northern mountains, which had once threatened the city with unpredictable energy surges, were now monitored and stabilized with human-inspired adaptive technology. The southern rivers, prone to flooding during storms, had new levees and flow regulators designed through their combined ingenuity. Zythera had begun to thrive in ways that had seemed impossible only months ago. Meanwhile, Matriarch Verena watched quietly from her palace. She could no longer ignore the truth. Her daughter's fascination with humans had been wise, not foolish. She felt the weight of regret pressing on her chest, heavier with each success Leora and Ethan achieved. Verena remembered the day she had mocked Leora in front of the council, confident that humans were weak. She had laughed at the idea that her daughter might marry one. She had believed she could control Leora through fear and ridicule. Now every step Leora took, every project completed, every life improved, was a testament to her mother's misjudgment. The matriarch tried to hide her feelings, but the truth was impossible to conceal. She felt admiration for her daughter, for the human who had become her son-in-law, and for the courage it took to challenge tradition and fear. One evening, Verena called Leora to the palace gardens. The suns were setting, casting long, shimmering shadows across the carefully manicured flora. The garden glowed with the soft light of energy orbs embedded in the pathways, reflecting the calm of the evening and the balance now beginning to exist in the city. "Leora," Verena began. her voice quieter than Leora had ever heard it. I have been wrong. Leora looked at her mother with curiosity and hope. Wrong about what, Mother? Wrong about humans, Verena admitted. I mocked them. I believed them weak. I underestimated them, and I underestimated you. I thought you would fail if you followed your own path. But you have changed everything. You have made the city stronger, safer, and more vibrant than I ever imagined. Leora felt warmth rise in her chest, not from pride, but from relief. Thank you, Mother, she said softly. I did not do this alone. Ethan helped, and so did the people who were willing to learn. This is not about proving anyone wrong. It is about building something better together. Verena nodded, though her pride still whispered resistance. It isn't difficult for me to admit, but I see now that humans have qualities we often overlook: creativity, courage, and determination that rivals any Zitharan skill. And you, my daughter, have the wisdom to recognize it. Their moment was interrupted by a sudden alert from the city council. A new threat had emerged. A massive energy anomaly in the outer orbital rings, sending pulses toward Zithara that could disrupt the city's defenses and power systems. It was the most dangerous situation the city had faced since Ethan's arrival. Leora and Ethan immediately mobilized. Their combined team of human and Zitharan engineers gathered in the central command hall. Citizens watched from safe observation points, anxious but trusting the couple's leadership. Together, Leora said, her voice calm but firm. We can handle this, humans and Zitharans side by side. Let's show them what we can do. Ethan nodded. We've prepared for challenges before. This is just another problem to solve. Let's stay flexible, creative, and focused. The anomaly pulsed unpredictably, a swirling mass of energy that defied conventional methods of containment. Zitharan engineers proposed using massive energy shields, but Ethan noticed flaws in their calculations. He suggested a dynamic approach, using smaller, adaptive nodes to interact with the anomaly's pulses, dispersing energy safely across multiple channels rather than fighting it head-on. Leora immediately applied her knowledge of Zitharan energy control to implement Ethan's strategy. Together they coordinated drones, energy nodes, and stabilization fields, constantly adapting as the anomaly shifted. The anomaly lashed out, sending surges across the city's power grids. Buildings shook, alarms blared, and citizens held their breath. But Leora and Ethan's method worked. Energy was absorbed, redirected, and neutralized. Within hours, the anomaly was stabilized, its threat neutralized entirely. When the crisis ended, the city erupted in cheers. Engineers, officials, and citizens alike praised the couple. Leora's leadership and Ethan's ingenuity had not only saved Zithara but had shown, definitively, the extraordinary capabilities of humans when combined with Zitharan skill. Verena, standing in the palace balcony, could no longer deny it. She felt a mixture of awe and humility. She had mocked her daughter, dismissed humans, and clung to old prejudices, but all of that had been proven wrong. She realized her greatest mistake had been pride, thinking she alone understood what was valuable and strong. Later that evening, Verena approached Leora once more. The matriarch's face was softened with emotion. Daughter, I see now that you chose wisely. Humans are remarkable, and I am proud of you. Leora smiled, taking her mother's hand gently. Thank you, Mother. It took courage to see it for yourself. And it is not just humans. This is about learning from each other, working together, and trusting in what others can offer. Verena nodded. I regret mocking you, but I am grateful I can witness what you and your human partner have accomplished. You have changed this city and its people. You have changed me. As the three sons of Zithara dipped below the horizon, casting the city in golden light, Leora, Ethan, and Verena stood together. The streets below were alive with the energy of progress, collaboration, and hope. The city had been transformed, not by power or force alone, but by courage, creativity, and the willingness to embrace the strengths of others. In the days that followed, Zithara entered a new era. Humans and Zitharans worked side by side, building cities, developing technology, and exploring the stars together. Leora and Ethan became leaders, teachers, and symbols of what could be achieved when species set aside fear and prejudice. Verena, once proud and dismissive, became a quiet supporter, offering guidance without interference. She had learned humility and the value of open-mindedness. The city flourished with new generations learning from both human ingenuity and Zitharan mastery. The legacy of Leora and Ethan was clear. Humans, once considered weak and inferior, were now celebrated for their courage, creativity, and determination. Their partnership had not only changed a city, but it had also transformed a society's view of what strength truly meant. And somewhere in the heart of Zithara, matriarch Verena smiled quietly, knowing that she had witnessed a new future, one built on respect, collaboration, and the extraordinary potential of humanity. Leora looked at Ethan and he smiled back. Together, they had proven that even the most rigid traditions could bend when courage and wisdom were applied. They had shown that humans could rise beyond expectations and that the bonds of understanding could reshape worlds. As the stars appeared above Zithara, glowing faintly in the night sky, Leora whispered softly, "This is only the beginning," Ethan nodded. "And we will face it together, humans and Zitharans side by side." The city below thrived, the citizens inspired, and the future was bright. Leora had shown that courage and wisdom could bridge worlds, that humans were capable of greatness, and that even the strongest matriarchs could learn humility. The story of Zithara's transformation would be remembered for generations, a true testament to the strength, ingenuity, and spirit of humanity.